Oh, there I am. How you guys doing? Hope you guys had a good Christmas day. My whole house is completely sick. Everybody except for me so far has like flu or something crazy. So
cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
Muted, yeah. I undid my muting, sorry. Typical boomer mistake. So, how's it all going, y'all? I have a bunch to cover today, which is really fun. I was going to stream yesterday, but because of the sickness in my household, it wasn't an opportune time. I've got a couple of things to look at today. One, Adam Green, of course. The smartest man alive, Adam Green, released a video, again, on the PSYOP. His view that all of Christianity was fabricated by Jews to control non-Jews, or I don't understand. So we're going to get a little bit of his video, because he had Gnostic informant Neil on. You know, the two of them together. Who knows what gets cracked up. We're going to look at some atheist douchebag and his deconstruction story, which is always funny. I hope you guys enjoyed the animation. I'll probably do a slew of those, reusing the atheist soy jacks and putting them in their own call-in show. I think is pretty fun. Maybe I'll even have like Chase call in. Got your print? Nice, Derek. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, definitely frame it. I look kind of sick. I might be there. It might happen. I'm not sure. Backwards hat doesn't fool anyone. Right as I cough. Maybe, who knows? I'll get in a good stream first. That's not sick, that's coffee. Want to see something beautiful? Megbob got me. It is a watch that's made with Taylor, the guitar company. Taylor Wood. Very fancy. I quite like it. Nice big face here. Anyway, they do like they work with a company that takes the grain from the Taylor guitar. I don't even have a Taylor guitar. I've been told to get one, but now that I have this Yamaha, I almost feel I have a new sworn allegiance to Yamaha for a while until I break up with it. So we'll see. Is this funny music too loud? Let's turn this down. I've gotten some complaints with the funny music. I listen to my customers. Got my print mounted. Nice. Thank you for that. I hope you love it. Can't wait to do the next one. Thinking of painting a couple of things this year. Let's get the super chat going. Yes, Josiah. Yeah, I've been out a bit, so please super chat away. We should get started, huh? What do we got here? Let's see. Review. What should we do first? Let's not start with... You know what? Let's start with this guy. I told him I'd respond to him. I think he needs to get out of this mess that he's in. He's a nobody. He's got 133 subs. This stuff shows up on my feed all the time because of what I watch. And sometimes I can't help but respond to it. I want to help him by smashing his view. Everything's empty. Bro, what are you, 17? You look like you're mid-30s. We don't have time for this everything is empty stuff, okay? Fine, I'll give you a little charity. You know, I'm in my 40s. It's taken a while, okay? Fine. But you can't get away with this guy, okay? You can't go through this phase and stay there, okay? Chase, thank you so much. $5. I'm in okay, and the juniper and cedar pollen count is high. You being in Colorado, I bet your allergy count is even higher, causing bronchitis. That's what it might be. My whole family's got it though. Whatever it is, it's gnarly. Fevers, just deep guttural lung coughing. Disgusting. I mean, I'm disgusted. But maybe I'm next in line. Huge!
Holy cow!
Huge super chat comes in.
Big super chat!
Oh my goodness. Taguch coming out swinging with the dollars. Hope you all better soon. And 2026 is going to be a great new year. It's going to be beautiful. I'm in for a real creative year myself. A lot of making stuff, a lot of animation, a lot of music, a lot of videos. Pretty pumped. Anyway, let's get started with this guy. Poor guy. Everything's empty. Let's just rip it apart. Let's try to be nice. Everybody in the chat, let's try to be nice. Wait a second. It's not the new year yet. Nah, never mind. We can wait until the new year to be nice. Okay?
Yeah. This video is about the difference between experience and interpretation and the suffering caused by mistaking interpretations for truth. My conclusion is that everything is empty.
Wait, your conclusion is that everything's empty? Wait, is that also empty, or does that mean something? What should we believe? His name is Christos, dude. The dude's name is, he's literally Christa. He's Seth. His name is Christos. Wow, I didn't even see that. Dude, you need some giant white teeth. Okay, so his words are empty, so we shouldn't listen to his words that everything's empty, but go on.
Or at least it appears to be.
Wait, it appears to be? So wait, how the world appears isn't empty, right? That's weird. By the way, here's a real fun, aside from the relativism that's really obvious here, something I've been thinking about lately is that I've been thinking about the preconditions for like people having knowledge and evaluating and things. And the world needs to be structured in such a way that it has a continued flow of unity and multiplicity. It has to have function. It has to be operative, you know. And so when you think about how silly this position is that this guy is going through, poor guy, is that he's arguing that it's all meaningless, but even to come to the conclusion of meaningless or some sort of nihilism, to come to that conclusion, you're still relying on a whole slew of things that need to be regular and functional. And then got me thinking about purpose a lot, how the breaking away from a Christian view and practice leads people to this postmodern relativistic view where truth itself is inverted or can be anything you want, like Oprah Winfrey. But also you deny that there's purposefulness. That means you deny disorders. And you notice that the trend of the denial of universals, the denial that the world is made in a particular way and it has purpose, such that we could deviate from that purposefulness. We can actually move away from it. I make this argument with evolution that the body and all of its appendages and its operations have some purpose and direction in what they do. There's a purpose to the liver. There's a purpose to the brain and the heart and the body and the skin and the bones. It's purposeful. Only from the view that it's purposeful can you go into the doctor and say, hey, listen, this thing isn't functioning properly. So when you lose the metaphysical structure that you're using to look at the world, if you lose it, you lose your standard for deviating from something. You can't really say something is disordered. And look at where we are. Lo and behold, the people, the philosophies that move away from Christianity, that present subjectivity, nihilism, epistemic nihilism, all of these stupid broken views, they can't really tell you something isn't functioning properly. And that's kind of the big complaint that the right wing would have of the left, is that they just don't accept that there's anything that's proper. There's no proper sex. There's no proper marriage. There's no proper truth. There's no proper family structure. There's no proper church. There's no proper anything. Everything is, just an iteration of your will and your whim, and that's it.
Even the idea of truth, and that this is the most honest position in psychology or philosophy that I have been able to find.
That's a contradiction, buddy. I hope you're watching this. I told him I was going to do a loving review of him. And by loving, I mean bruising. You can't say truth, this is the honest truth. Honesty assumes truth, dude. You can't just say all the statements you just said and still maintain that there's something called universal truth, man. Okay, bro?
So,
get a drink of water for us, would you? My misophonia is kicking up.
truth is often said to be derived from knowledge. This is the common view held by everyday society, the scientific tradition, and many religious people, spiritual people, and philosophers, dating back to even Plato and the beginnings of ancient Greek philosophy.
Well, no, that wouldn't be at least an orthodox view that truth is derivative of knowledge. We would go further. Knowledge would be a temporal thing. We would say that you can use your experience and use your senses and use your evaluations to gain some knowledge, and then you could call that the propositions about that truth. But no, it doesn't derive from, because knowledge now needs something to derive. You need something that knowledge is derivative of now. So it doesn't solve the problem. That's why a theonomous view that starts with God is really the only logical way to approach knowledge. Autonomous, which he's trying to argue for, it gets you into these pickles. If you argue autonomous epistemology, that everything's sort of grounded in the particulars of each human trying to seek out truth from their own inductive experiences, you don't have anything. You just have nominalism. So no wonder he looks the way he does and he sounds the way he does. He's ultimately defeated. The good news, Christos, his name's Christos. The good news, sir, is that what you're experiencing as a defeat is proper, is a proper experience to the worldview. Because what's happening is that it's your worldview that's getting defeated. Good. Get a better one, man. Get a better one, dude.
It's a dominant perspective, the foundation upon which religions promote themselves and societies organize. There are clear rights and wrongs, clear purposes, clear meanings. There is clarity in what one is to do with their life, who they are, and how to make their way in the world. That through logic and reason, we can access justified, true beliefs about reality and live our lives in a way that reflects these beliefs. And that some people's beliefs are incoherent, whereas some people's are truer. This is a source of much conflict over the course of humanity's evolution. And
oh, you think we evolved now? You think we evolved? Okay. Okay, buddy.
I would say much unnecessary conflict, because the truth is that all these views are incoherent in some way.
Really? From what ultimate view did you determine that? Because I might agree with you. But the problem here, buddy, is that you can't say all views are incoherent without assuming one view that isn't. And this is the confusion that these philosophy people get into, because they think they've arrived at some sort of universal claim that there's no real ultimate truth. And what they're arguing for is, well, all of these views are ultimately incoherent at some point. Well, no, there has to be one view, the one that you happen to be using, to determine that every other view is incoherent. That requires one non-incoherent view, dude. That's a truth claim. You're making a massive truth claim here. Is your truth claim incoherent? How do you know that?
Because
Get some water, dude. Get some water.
for humans, truth itself is an incoherent concept.
Oh, gosh. Truth itself is an incoherent concept. The truth claim, coming from the guy saying truth itself is an incoherent concept, that's a truth claim. I was trying to be nice to you. I was trying. Now I want to beat you up. Now I want to curb stomp you. You get the whole L's in the chat song. What a doomer. What kind of terrible doomer position is this, man? Look at your spirit. It's dead. Look at your eyes. You're dead. You died alive. You're dead alive. The truth is incoherent itself.
Now, this isn't something I'm saying about truth metaphysically, but it's something that I'm saying about our ability to access it epistemically. And even that sentence, which I've just said about truth, is in itself incoherent.
Oh, man, you're cooked, man. I'm not staying with you on this. You're cooked. We don't need to listen to anything else your flared nostrils have to offer us, okay? Go smell a fart. Obviously, your parents are paying your rent if you have time for this video. Okay? You're done. I'm done with you. I don't want to see your face anymore. Don't show up in my comments. Don't say thank you for the review. I want you to stop uploading videos altogether. Okay? I hate you. Let's move on to one of the most pretentious atheist channels ever, called TMM. I apologize in advance for how this guy sounds. I'm wondering, how is it not a parody? All right.
That God is a good explanation for the existence. Here's John Lennox to argue that God is a good explanation for the existence of the universe, even though God makes no sense.
Let's come to that first question, which has interested me because it's become a great focus recently.
Bring us some figgy pudding. Bring us some figgy... Every time I listen to John Lennox, I feel like he's going to break out into some sort of weird... traditional cultural hymn from the 1800s. I've got wooden booties on.
Both in North America and Britain and
If you look down at my feet, you might think I have clubbed foot, but I don't. I have wooden clogs made of oak, 300-year oak tree. Should I show you a shuffle?
Europe. Everybody's talking about it. I thought I'd left it behind in Russia. And that's the question, who created God?
I think a much more important question is, if God can exist without needing a creator, why can't the universe?
Actually, that's a good question, TMM. I wonder if you're interested in the answer. I can give you one answer right off the bat, TMM. If you ask the question, if God can exist without needing a creator, why can't the universe? Well, you have to define what the universe is. So the problem with an atheist view is that they actually can't define the universe because the universe is a collection of particulars. So already off the bat, we're looking at the universe as if it's some sort of monistic object. Well, what are you referring to? What are you saying can exist without needing a creator? What are you referring to, TMM, when you say the universe? Is that a singular thing? Is that a conceptual reflection of a collection of particulars? Is it ultimately unified into one? What is it? What are you referring to? The universe is a metaphysical reference for something that's, from the atheist view, you can't access everything that you're calling the universe, right? So what are you referring to, bro? That's one problem. The other problem is the universe itself consists of immaterial. Now, you can't make claims. You can't even ask the question, well, if God can exist without needing a creator, why can't the universe? The question itself assumes metaphysics exist in the universe, right? Not as matter. This is why I get into it with physicalists and naturalists. They grant themselves meaning, information, language, math, laws of logic, minds, evaluations, propositions, a past, a present, a future. They grant themselves all of these things. Are they in the universe? Well, they'll say, no, they're not actually real. Okay, so the truth isn't real. Knowledge isn't real then, right? The reason the question, can God exist without needing a creator? Why can't the universe? You have to look at what the universe consists of. And if the universe necessarily consists of a branch of reality called the conceptual, called the metaphysical, that's not identical to matter, then that thing requires necessarily a mind because it's conceptual. That's why the universe itself needs more. Whereas God would be the only self-existing, self-reliant entity. Because God, self-existing, eternally uncreated, is no longer constrained by time-space, matter continuum, which the universe would be. And God also accounts for the metaphysical and the conceptual that you would need to even talk about the universe. Now, atheists don't quite understand this problem. They just grant themselves metaphysics, epistemology, knowledge, mind, information, laws of physics, laws of logic, math, and the rest. They just give it to themselves. And you go, does that have a type of existence? Like, no, it's all just made up. Well, that doesn't make any sense, dude.
And Dawkins has made it the heart of his book, The God Delusion. I was staggered when I found it there.
The God Delusion, Part 5.
The preconditions for knowledge is itself found in the Trinity. As Saint Maximus says, all has their logos, state of being / essence, their logoi, energies, and how their essence and energies have their true relations, accounts to reality. In our modern language, I found it's easier to describe this to others as all true knowledge of reality requires purpose, function and application. Just as water has its proper state of a solid, liquid, and gas, each has its purpose to be cause X chemical reactions in Y environments. Each of these reactions requires their regularity in systems, proper function. By them having a continuous regulatory function / system, the regularities showcase the proper application. Chase Crosp.
Thank you, Chase, for that. Yes, that's well said. These purpose has to be reflective of something. For instance, humans, if you deny purpose, you really have no standard for arguing for truth anyway. You wouldn't say that your mind has the purpose of seeking rational views or truth itself. It would just be reflective of a material process called evolution, strictly material. And further, from an orthodox view, the way we act, our operations, our energies would be the distinction. How we act as persons, our idiosyncrasies are always proper to our nature. And this is why the nature, essence, energy, nature, person, distinction is so important in looking at the world, because everything is made with some sort of function to it. In fact, its function is inseparable from its identity. The fact that it could have a universal identity means it has itself functions. Like that's why I bring up the liver a lot in these debates against evolution proponents. The liver itself has a function, but if evolution were true, which by the way, the process is ambiguous still. It's completely nebulous. The process of evolution, what is it? Well, it's just changing things. No, that doesn't tell me the process. Anyway, from that view, the liver was not always the liver. That means the function of the liver was not always the function of the liver. That means the function of the brain wasn't always the function of the brain. So it has to have this fluctuating identity, and the identity is also correlative to its function. Its identity changes. This is why it's nominal. Everything's always changing. The process between point A and point B, A being the brain didn't exist in some sort of amalgamation of biological matter. Between point A of not having a brain and having a brain, suddenly the evolution proponent, the atheist, declares arbitrarily that now it has function. It's complete for now. The brain is complete for now. The heart is at the tail end of its process. Now it does a thing. Now it's complete, but it's also changing. You can't make sense of the world if you operate from a nominalist view where there is no universality between things that are like each other. That's it. It's like there's nothing, you can't tie it together without what Chase described, metaphysically, it goes to metaphysics, that the thing that unifies it, the only conception that can unify or solve the problem even of the one and the many would be the triune Godhead.
What I mean about Russia, ladies and gentlemen, is I used to get this all the time at the Academy of Sciences when I was traveling out to Russia in the late 1980s and the early 1990s, you see, that it was almost the first.
Oh, I'm gonna cluck my heels. I want to ride. I want to take a zephyr on a rainbow.
Truther Cop. Hey, nice to see you. Haven't seen you. Jim Bob, in honor of Talcott seeking world peace by the end of the year, that's hilarious. Will you forgive me for being upset with you that you threw Owen Benjamin under? I don't throw. Oh, no one has ever thrown Owen Benjamin under the bus. He happily goes right under the wheels himself. But God bless you and Jack Talcott. Good luck solving, creating world peace. Good luck.
Question. If you believe that God created the universe, then logically you've got to ask the question, who created God? And then you have to ask, who created the God that created the God that created the God that created God that created
Only if you're a Mormon.
God, and so on ad infinitum.
You might say that the universe needs a creator because it's contingent and God is not, but how do you know the universe is contingent? If you say it's because it had a beginning, well, that's debated by physicists. And since the universe is the space-time continuum, the universe has existed as far back as time goes.
This is interesting because that's correct. The universe would be contingent, but it also is matter itself is not all that the universe is. For instance, you can look at matter in the world, and nowhere in the matter can you find the grounding for how matter operates. Do you guys hear that loud and clear? When you look at matter, nature, look at rocks and trees and water, the things themselves, water, tree, rocks, animals, they themselves as a clump of cells can't justify how they operate, why they follow these laws, why is everything constrained by laws. So this gets into tag because the necessary preconditions for the universe to operate a certain way is something that can't be grounded in the universe without just saying ad hoc. It just does. It just does. But that's a problem because from TMM, his view, this guy who never shows his face or debates one-on-one, this channel that I'm reviewing, there's no reason to argue that there is some sort of state of operations that produce life. That's what's so funny about their view. They're like, why can't I just have an eternal universe? And you go, why do you stop there? Why did you need a Big Bang? Why do you need a beginning point? Why do you need life to evolve from not life? Why can't you just have eternal life in the universe? There's no reason why you can't hold that view from an atheist position. But the same, even if you granted it, let's just for a second grant to the naturalist that the universe wasn't created by God and it always existed, but it always existed with everything it has in it. So you don't need to jump from non-life to life. You just have life forever. You just have it forever. Even if you grant that to them, they still have the same problem. They can't give you an ontological justification, like a justification for the ontology of non-physical things. That's their biggest weak point. That's why you need to tag them. That's why you need to precept them, which John Lennox argues from a classical foundationalist view, just like most of the popular Christian apologetics, which is why they're lackluster. They're more popular because it's easier to track for normies, but it's still classical foundationalism. You don't need to go this route. You just cut them under at the knees. You say, hold on a second. How does a natural world purely eternally existing, TMM, justify things like knowledge, metaphysics, the immaterial, logic itself? How does it justify logic? They don't have a justification. They just have to say, logic just is. Is what? They can't even tell you. Atheists can't tell you. This is why they get so annoyed. This is why I'm making this series, this call-in series, because they get so annoyed when you ask them, in what way does logic exist? In what way do these immaterial things exist? They don't. They certainly don't exist the same way an apple exists. Physical, material, structured. It decomposes. It goes through some elemental change, exposed to the elements. As Father Deacon Ananias would say, do you ever step in a fact? Have you ever stepped in a fact? You went outside, to enjoy the beautiful air, and oh shit, I stepped in something. What is that? You don't step in a fact. You don't step in knowledge. You don't step in truth. These are not material. And yet, here's the atheist going, well, show me evidence for God. What? Show you evidence for a non-evidential, non-empirical claim? You show me a human right, bro. I look like your Uncle Jay. Did he wear cutoffs? Is he based? I mean, backwards hat over 40 is super questionable. I gotta admit. Backwards hat over 40. I might have to... I don't know. I think that about beards. I think any man over 40, if he doesn't have a beard, it's super sussy. Doesn't make any sense. You start looking like a lesbian. If you're over 40 and you're a man and you don't have a beard, you there's no way at some angle someone won't see a lesbian. It's just a part of the world. GRV, $10. Jim Bob, in honor of Jack Talcott seeking world peace by the end of the year, will you forgive me for being upset with you that you threw Owen under the bus for clout with Andrew? Clout with Andrew? Andrew had less clout than me at that time. What are you talking about? I don't know if you guys remember. Andrew was doing politics and debating, but his channel was about 6,000 subs at the time. So certainly I didn't throw Andrew under the bus for clout with Andrew because Andrew didn't have any clout at that time. So I don't know what you're talking about. And no one throws Owen under the bus. He does it to himself. Look at his track record. He can't maintain a friendly relationship with almost anybody. You know what I mean? But, he might make his way back. I saw him with, who is that guy? Who's Peacecraft? Richard Spencer. Saw that. So who knows? He might make his way back to some Normieville podcast or whatever. I have a beard and people still think I'm a lesbian. That happens too, Mud. I'm sorry about that. That happens too. Anyway, let's move along with this.
Even if there was a time before the Big Bang. So the only way that the universe could have a beginning is if time itself has a beginning. But if time itself has a beginning, then everything does, including God.
No. That's a category error. If God is timeless, see, these people can't conceive, just because they can't conceive of a being or of a type of existence that isn't constrained by time, space, matter. They just go, no, I can't conceive of it, therefore it can't be real. Well, that would, if there are things that can't be real because you can't conceive of them, there are current geometric shapes. I forgot what they're called. There are geometric shapes. In fact, infinity, the mathematical concept, you can't fully exhaust conceptually, but you wouldn't say infinity, it doesn't exist just because you can't conceive of it. So silly. Snagglebeast, you silly bear people need to get over it. I don't know what it is, dude. They're you know what it is, Snagglebeast? They're thinking of greater times for them. It was like fun. It was like a fun, contentious war time. They miss war. Back in the day. This was like 5 years ago already, isn't it? The whole Benjamin debacle. Chase says for $5, when pressed, the atheist will describe the immaterial similar to Platonic forms while simultaneously denying those forms exist. Yeah. Which is like the ultimate contradiction is to deny the thing you need to assume is real in order to even talk about these things. They're like, no, I just grant myself logic, talking, coherency, math, that the world is regular, categories. They deny the categories. Silly. All right.
Nothing has existed for an eternity if there hasn't been an eternity.
And that was the end of God, of course. And that's exactly what Dawkins says in The God Delusion. Well, let's analyze it for a moment. Who created God? If you ask that question, it shows you've immediately categorized God as created.
Don't apologists do that with the universe? I expect that Lennox is a somewhat more sophisticated thinker than Ray Comfort, but the argument Comfort uses is that paintings need a painter, buildings need a builder, and creations need a creator, therefore the universe needs a creator, because, as we are to assume without evidence, the universe is a creation. How do you know the universe is a creation? If we ought not assume that about God, why ought we assume that about the universe?
See, I wouldn't make that exact argument, so TMM is partly right here, but the problem is if you just restructure the angle of the argument, which would be more of a teleological position, which is things that have purpose, right? Things that have function and direction. The fact that we live in a universe that includes a conceptual realm to it, and the fact that things that we look at have purpose, that they actually have function. To deny that the function is downstream from a mind, you would the only alternative is that you would have to argue that function and high precision behaviors that have purpose, like the liver, I always come back to the liver or the brain or anything, that they come out of not function, which is backwards, because in order to say that something like the liver or the mind or the way nature behaves with function, that is to say it can be dysfunctional. It can be dysfunctional, which the atheist has to hold that, because they would argue that our views of belief in a God is a type of logical dysfunction or an irrational view, right? In order to hold the atheist view, you actually have to argue that the function you see today in our bodies, in our minds, in our kneecap, in our hearts, in the world itself, arises from dysfunction. Now, if God exists, there's a purpose to how life is. That if God exists, then you could actually argue that there's something called a dysfunction because there's a purpose. But if you argue that there's no purpose, you can't argue that there's anything dysfunctional at all. And if you argue that there's pure dysfunction or absence of either order or disorder, it just is. How are you going to argue like an evolutionary view, which requires a through line of repetitive functions? It's insane. And they actually have to argue, or at least concede, for my atheists in the chat, maybe you'll be honorable enough to do this. From this view, your own brain has no purpose. Your own brain has no purpose. Universe and everything in it has no purpose. The brain is in the universe. The brain has no purpose. Simple syllogism.
So you're talking about a created God. Now you imagine if Richard Dawkins had written a book called The Created God's Delusion. I don't think many people would have bought it.
Hey, Jim Bob, thank you very much for the print. The dude, Evil Waldo, is one of the worst dishonest people. Yeah, he's terrible. His little giggling when he got nervous, he was in a little bit of a trap there. He got real nervous.
Because I don't need him to tell me that created gods are a delusion. We usually call them idols, incidentally.
See, the thing about idol worshippers is that they often don't understand that they are worshiping something they themselves have created.
But you see, this question...
I think Cohen Benjamin began to resent you more and more as he slowly realized not only were you smarter than him, you were funnier and a better musician. He couldn't handle it.
I think that's what happened too, because that started brewing early on, honestly, looking back. There were people coming in my chat from his chat going, "You're funnier, this is better," or whatever, and then, he kind of lost his shit. But I mean, we don't even need to say much more about him. God bless him. I hope he finds orthodoxy.
This question is extremely interesting because it's an illustration of a question that already rules out the explanation that's most likely to be true.
Just like the question of what...
See, I disagree with Lennox here. This is what happens when you're a classical foundationalist. You start to argue stochastics and likelihoods. No. You have to argue in the reverse order. You have to argue from the position, what are the preconditions that we even have something called likelihood or inductive conclusions or anything like this, statistics, probability itself. This is a mathematician. Now, keep in mind, Lennox, I don't know what heterodox tribe he's a part of, but he's a mathematician, and so he understands, at least the deeper he gets into math and the conceptual realm of mathematics and the component of truth that mathematics has a peculiar sort of authority on, because proof is a mathematical thing. It really leads to something called absolute truth when you get into mathematics and logic. And so he kind of has the right impulse to point to God, but the problem is you can't argue God probabilistically. Now, I know this is frustrating for some of the theists and Christian apologists who are stuck on the classical foundational model. You don't get to God from probabilism. You can't have probabilism. You can't have probability and stochastics without a whole slew of preconditions that would then necessitate God. You're doing it backwards, John Lennox.
Well, don't you tell me that. I'll put the boot up your butt. Now bring us some figgy pudding.
Josiah Eliron, $10. I keep thinking Lennox is going to say, "Always after me, Lucky Charms," every time. I know, he's about to elevate and do a boot kick.
What created the universe does.
Because the Christian claim is that God wasn't created.
So why can't it be the case that the universe wasn't created?
So if God was uncreated,
Well, because you have an endless regress problem. The TMM is just going, why can't the universe be uncreated? What are you referring to, first of all? What's the universe? What is it? A singular thing? Is it a monistic globular mass? Is there anything not the universe? What do you mean the universe? Is that a particular? What are we talking about here? Second of all, the universe, according to your own view, operates a certain way now and then comes from some different set of operations. So everything from your naturalistic view about the universe, reverse engineering, it goes to a singular point in time. Now you have to come up with a naturalistic account for the first conceived moment of time, the initial state, as they would call it. Graham Oppy would argue that the Big Bang, if you hit the reverse button on the tape deck, all the way back to the beginning, there's a beginning now, but it's not a real beginning. So he keeps referring to this thing as a universe, but TMM is not rigorous to say, well, what am I referring to? When I ask the question, why can't the universe be eternally uncreated? Well, because your own naturalistic view of the universe keeps pushing back something before itself, and so it's always changing. So you keep arguing from causation. Now, this is why the classical foundationalists have a position, because if the atheist says, well, the universe is the effect of a cause, then you just have to keep going back in time for cause, but you need some first set into motion. This is the first cause argument. So, and they're two different categories. The claim of God is eternally uncreated. The term universe is naturalistic. And so when you say, oh, why can't the universe be eternally uncreated? Well, you have to tell me what the universe consists of. This is why arguing from their naturalistic position, aka the classical foundational model, which just grants self-evident facts and things like this, don't do that. You got to counter these people with metaphysics. You go, wait, hold on. The universe is eternally uncreated. Why can't it be? Does the universe include metaphysics? And then if they deny it, then their entire argument is completely kaput, because they're appealing to something that they should also deny based on the same standards we should deny God's existence. Evidentialism. They're like, no, give me non-material things that I could use to talk about material things. And I don't have to justify the immaterial things or the categories or the metaphysics or the knowledge or anything. I don't have to justify them.
Wolverine might call you Jim Bub. Hey Jim Bub, I have a message from Half Black Justin. He says he hoped your Christmas was blessed.
It was.
Christ is born. Also, thank you for including him and his fiancée on the Ferris wheel of your print.
Yes. TMM's critique is trying to show theistic special pleading. That might exist, but if God is a different category, it's not special pleading. That's what I get frustrated with atheists. I get just as frustrated with classical foundationalist apologists, because they're just granting the atheist way too much. But Nitty, even if it was the case he's trying to produce a special pleading instance, he can't, because God wouldn't be in the category of creation. And so it's not a special pleading to say, well, why is God uncreated, but the universe can't be? Because they're two different categories. That's why. They're totally different categories. Now, if you're going to internally critique the Christian view to produce a special pleading, you actually have to appeal to their view of God and their view of creation. You can't usher in your own categories for God and creation and unify them as if they're the same. Then you're no longer doing an internal.
In the beginning was the Word, and I'm coming to your 3-in-1 now, and I'm bringing it in obliquely. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
The passage says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. How do we know this is true? And if it is true, how do we know the rest of the universe didn't already exist and is as uncreated as God allegedly is?
Well, because of metaphysics, TMM. It comes down to this. It always comes down to tag. You can't play ping pong with these guys and grant them nature and the regularity of nature and all of these things. Oh, look, the world is the way the world is. Okay, why can't it always be the way it is? Well, you're the one claiming it wasn't always the way it is, because you have this position that the universe started from some singular point and then expanded rapidly. You know, that's your claim, but also somehow materially produced immaterial things like knowledge. This is why the ontology angle for these people, asking them what's the status of knowledge in the universe that's uncreated. What's the status of knowledge? What's the status of the conceptual? Truth itself. Does truth exist in this uncreated eternal universe? They would say, yeah. TMM would, yeah, in a sense. They would say, in a sense. It's always in a sense. In a sense. In a sense, truth exists. In a sense, the laws of logic. That's another thing, the laws of logic. If I grant TMM and the atheists in the chat an eternal universe, this is why I ask, what are you referring to when you say universe? He's going to refer to parts, planets, chunks of things, asteroids, water, elements, the periodic table, chemistry. All of those things, that's what they refer to the universe. But the problem with their view is all of those things have and maintain their identity. Now suddenly you have the laws of logic, at least the classical 3 laws, in play for an eternal universe that precedes human minds. So this is the angle that they can't handle. This is why they hate Presup. This is why they hate Tag. Because you simply ask, did the laws of logic have a type of existence when it was just a purely material world without life at all? They have to say yes. Well, sorry, dude. The moment you say yes, that the laws of logic still had their own type of ontology in a deep time view of existence before all humans, where objects maintain their identity in time, that means that there's still a conceptual element to reality before humans. Now, you can't justify that from a purely materialistic view. You can't.
He already was.
The universe is the space-time continuum, so whenever there is time, by definition, there is a universe. So any time God already was is a time when the universe also already was.
So the central Christian claim is, and in Judaism and Islam, of course, equally, is that God is eternal.
He says, look, see, this is the problem. Atheist here, who is our favorite troll. The elements evolved. Yeah. This is why I like atheists, because I hope he's actually a Christian and he just does it so well. He embodies the atheist nonsense position so well. The elements, the regularity of items themselves, their identity changed, including the process that they're subject to. So all of the elements that normal things are subject to, the elements themselves are also evolving. So nothing is actually truly regular. Everything's nominal. That's the view. 16 months in Jortlandia. How do I secure a position of power to enforce my will on others in this place, Beef Castle? Well, I think you have to work your way out of a work visa, first of all. And then you might be able to secure yourself a wrench. And having a wrench on my channel is really exceptional because I don't police my wrench people at all. You guys could run off completely maniacal on your chariot of power, unbridled power, and I wouldn't say anything. Who cares? Ban everybody. What do I care? $50. Thank you so much. Very super generous super chat.
That is a big super chat.
It is. Happy late Christmas, Jim Bob. May God bless you and your family in 2026. Cheers. God bless you as well. Thank you for that generous tip. The prints are awesome, Mudwork says. Thanks again. Mail lady bent the package. I saw that. That's unfortunate. Well, it was good that it was only that one spot. So I think you're in good shape.
which isn't possible unless time is eternal. You can't have existed for infinite time, which is what being eternal means, if there hasn't been infinite time. But if time is eternal, then the space-time continuum, in other words, the universe, is also eternal. Why then would the universe be in any more need of a creator than God?
So the
He just keeps reciting this whole thing. Because, TMM, the universe includes immaterial conceptual things. Otherwise, you don't know what you're referring to.
question, by definition, doesn't even apply to him. And that's immensely important. The only way you can get anything out of it then, in the negative sense, is to assume that everything is in the category of the created, but that's just begging the original question.
Your position includes everything except God in the category of the created, which is
That's not special pleading, dude. This guy's so retarded, man. Your position includes everything except God in the category of created, which is special pleading. No, it's not. You retard. Special pleading is when you take something that's necessarily in the same category and you give one thing in that category a special status in contrast to the rest of the things in the category. Breaking up categories itself is not special pleading, you idiot. Oh, so he made a category between two things. That's special pleading. No, it's not. If you took this guy's logical critique here and you applied it to humans and their minds, it would be special pleading to say we're different people. Well, you're taking two people in the same category and you're giving them one status that's distinct from the other. That's special pleading. No, it's not. Fucking idiot.
What would you say if I told you I was mentally retarded?
Chase says acts themselves are concepts in naturalism. Right. So are evaluations. Therefore, a motion of atoms and attraction of positive negative charges are not so objective. That's right. Everything's nominal. There's actually nothing. There's not one chemical reaction that is identical to another one. It has no category. That's what's so ironic about this critique that this guy's trying to levy against Lennox is that under his naturalistic view, there are no categories. In fact, there are no categories. So you can't even say this is a. Can you imagine trying to call out special pleading when your own worldview doesn't even have categories? There's nothing real, nothing true or objective about categories. And you're like, special pleading. What? John Mondragon for $10. My favorite is when the atheist wingnuts say logic is just a language, but language is not contingent on logic. That's my favorite. They're like, logic is just expressive and grammatical, as Peterson would say. Well, dude, you can't grammatically express anything without assuming a law of identity first. You don't create the laws of logic through your logic. That's what it's like. That's how insane the view is.
Is special pleading. Many apologists argue that the mere fact that something exists is proof that it was created, except when it comes to God.
No, that's not dude. It's unbelievable.
And the Greeks were interested in it. And that's why John's gospel.
Even if you argued that, if you granted his flawed, he threw a flag in called special pleading, which it's not special pleading. Special pleading, again, for the audience, is when you take two things that are in the same category and you give one a special position in contrast to everything else in the category. If the Christian says there's two categories, created and uncreated, the question of why can't the universe be uncreated is a different claim or angle to trying to do an internal critique. TMM is not honest because he's not doing an internal critique right now.
Starts with those words.
He's basically just saying it's not fair that you guys hold God in a status that's unlike any categories. And yet at the same time, we couldn't possibly argue for God unless God transcended all the categories. Otherwise, it's not God. Do you understand? So we use in a sense, an apophatic approach to God's ontology. Now, TMM and the rest of the atheists could just say, well, I don't get it. I don't get the ontological distinction. I can't conceive of it. And we go, thank you. You can't conceive of the full essence of God. Great. That doesn't refute that he exists or not exists. So if you simply don't want to participate in the philosophical exercise of trying to distinguish between created, ordered matter that operates in time, space, in a certain way, such a way that it could be categorized. And if you don't like it, if it feels icky to you to argue that if God exists, he would necessarily definitionally transcend these categories. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean that he necessarily has to be in the created category. Okay?
In the beginning, the Word already was. And then it says, all things came to be through him.
That seems like an awfully important piece of information about Jesus. It's kind of weird that the 3 earlier gospel authors made no mention of it. Did Matthew, Mark, and Luke not know about this? If they didn't, how did John find out about it? If they
we're gonna start listening to TMM's hermeneutical expansion here. Unbelievable.
That epic stream was definitely epic. When I watched it on Rumble, I had a Diwali celebration in my pants.
Yes,
The
thank you.
witches, the empiricists, and the commentary on the fat Protestants had me asking, what is the code to life? I don't know the answer, but I am confident that you cannot, should not, and better not redeem it.
Yeah, thank you for that. God is in the created category, though, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. No, that doesn't put God. God would be a nature randoverse. The person of Jesus Christ, from a Christian view, is eternally uncreated. Christ taking on created form is not the same as saying God is uncreated. No. You would say the human nature is created, the human aspect. But we don't say Jesus Christ is created merely because he took on human nature, randoverse. That would be heresy.
They did know about it. Why would they leave something like that out of their Gospels? It seems
That's not an argument. By the way, that assumes some sort of hermeneutical authority. Hermeneutics!
to me like the simplest explanation for this passage in John is that the author of John made it up.
The Greeks were interested in the question of 2 categories: the things that came to be, the created things, and the things that already were. And the question resolves down to this: is there a thing or a being that never came to be?
There was some demand for you to play Red Dead with Jay Dyer. I unloaded it from my computer because I was taxing my memory on my computer, my space. What I did download, Justin, which I'll probably play, I'm still going to do a Final Fantasy V stream with Tony because I missed out apparently in my childhood on Final Fantasy V. But I also downloaded Ready or Not, which is my kind of jam. Ready or Not is like a SWAT team tactical thing where, you know, you're kind of, you're in various scenarios where you have to take down the assailant. So I like its anti-crime. So I think the rhetoric will be quite fun when I play that. So thanks, Justin.
Well, anything that never exists also never came to be, and God clearly falls into...
Jim Bob, you know any other channels I can watch about theology as a Reformed Calvinist? I mean, there's so many to watch, but Calamity Tristan, my first invitation to you is simply go to Divine Liturgy as an observer, stay for coffee hour, talk to the priest, maybe sign up and go to one of the free classes about that, you know, the catechumens are participating in. Honestly, at this point, that's where I'm at, Calamity. Yes, there are very good apologists and very good channels getting into the theology, but what I've learned, at least from my perspective, is if you're not immersed in the world of orthodoxy, you're going to still be interpreting everything you're going to read from your Reformed Calvinist filter. And I believe that the only true way to consume orthodoxy and participate and to grasp these distinctions is in the activity itself, that you're at least adjacent or embedded in the activity. Otherwise, you're just doing, philosophy. You're just doing rational approach to these things. It doesn't exhaust what's being offered to you, okay? So I'm not saying forget the other channels. You can find them. You could read about them. You could read this book. This book alone would have you moving away from Calvinism. Just this book. This is a very filtered down approach in one aspect of church history, where there's no way you're coming away with, oh, Calvinism is true. Go to church. Go to liturgy. Go witness what Christianity looked like, smelled like, felt like in the early centuries, right? Go, come and see.
Into that category.
And that is the Christian claim. And he's called God. But there's a little codicil to this, you see. Richard Dawkins, and I had a debate with him on this very topic in Oxford.
I was never invited to Epstein Island, or I would have went.
And I said to him, Richard, you say that who created God is a legitimate question. I don't think it is. But let me assume now that it is. You believe that the universe created you. So I beg leave now to ask you, using your own question, who created your creator?
Just as you don't believe that God had a creator, I don't believe the universe had a creator. If God doesn't need a creator, why does the universe?
I already told you this, dipshit. Because the universe is a referent you're using, and it includes immaterial things like the laws of logic. It includes knowledge, information. They have a type of ontology. So the reason the universe needs a creator, that needs a justified source, is because the universe consists of conceptual things. And now if you deny it and you say, no, there's no such thing as conceptual things, then your entire video goes to shit, because you're arguing from a position where universal truth exists, that rationality exists, that reasoning exists, that propositions exist, that the laws of thought exist, mathematics, but you're saying they don't exist. This is the problem. This is why you can't really take their stupid, materialistic approach. This is why being a classical foundationalist like Lennox doesn't work in the end. Because metaphysics needs a source, TMM. That's why. Why can't matter just exist? Yeah, it does exist. I'm granting you matter exists. What about its laws? The laws are not identical to matter. Where do they come from? They're just eternal. Laws are eternal? What's the status of a law, though? If you say laws are uncreated and eternal, like the Mormons say, what's their status? Okay? They're in a trap, and you have to go to ontology to force the trap. They don't have a status. This is why the debate I had with Planet Peterson in Nashville was such a good representation of the problems in naturalism. That naturalism talks about nature once nature's operating in a certain way. And then you ask, well, if naturalism was the best explanation for reality, you could develop a naturalistic explanation of the way nature exists such that your explanations make any sense. It's a problem of induction, ultimately, which is the world operates a certain way. You take a bunch of particulars out in nature and you filter them down into a generality. But from a naturalistic perspective, you can't justify that. You just grant it to yourself.
I'm waiting still for the answer. I was talking to about 1,000 scientists, and a man came up to me afterwards, a physicist, and he said, that was very interesting, all that talk about God, but he said, do you know, I detect you're a Christian. And I said, you're...
Very astute gentleman.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. I said, you're pretty sharp. And he said, come off it, he said. Now look, as a Christian, you're obliged to believe.
I was considering Greek Orthodox, but I was shamed by my Yeah, dude, I'm dealing with calamity, Tristan. I have a friend who's had to leave their Calvinist church. They were part of Doug Wilson's church, and they got a letter, dude. They got like an anathema letter, which is really funny because they're taking it on their own authority to excommunicate people or to shame them, and they themselves deny the church authority that precedes them. So yeah, Calamity, it's a rough time for Calvinists because they're at least more rigid in their exclusivity. In the same position, they totally are pluralists at the same time. It's a contradiction. They get really crazy when they shame you for considering Orthodox, but then they don't have any reason because they would have to necessarily include Orthodoxy. So there really shouldn't be a problem with a Calvinist leaving their Calvinist church coming to Orthodoxy because ultimately it would just be a different expression anyway. So, Calamity, Tristan, pursue Orthodoxy. There must necessarily, if you're a Christian, there must be a true church. And certainly Calvin's church, Calvin's theology was nowhere found in time, just like Mormonism. There's nowhere in the first century, second century, all through the councils, there is no iteration that points to Calvinism and its theology being true or even held commonly or even obscurely held. None of it. It's nonsense. So, go to liturgy, dude. Learn. And you know what the irony is, Calamity? Or is that your name? Calamity? Whatever your name is. The irony is the deeper you get into the practice of Orthodoxy, the less, well, this isn't true for the early onset, what do you call it? Zealot, convert zeal. Yes, we all go through convert zeal, but as you practice and you continue, the less you'll debate your Calvinist friends. The more. It takes time, but like you'll get to a point where you start to see, well, there is a place and a time for debating, but ultimately they have to come and see. That's why we say come and see, because you can't assess the philosophical issues fully without grasping the wholeness, the life, and the mind of the church, the phronema. Like you can't, you're going to be missing the most important element of orthodoxy in your pursuit, in your inquiry of orthodoxy, if you're not there. You know what I mean? You're going to be missing a massive element. So that's why I say go first.
That God is a triunity. That Jesus was God and man. And he said, no, come on, you're a mathematician at Oxford. This is absurd.
Well, the doctrine of the Trinity says that Jesus is God and God is Jesus.
Hold on a second. I got to wait for TMM's account for his Trinity. Chase says for another 5, the preconditions of natural universe holds causality as a necessary condition for objectivity. Yeah. Therefore, the universe to be objective requires a cause. Yeah. Yeah, they just do endless regress. So this guy TMM goes, why can't the universe just be eternally uncreated? Well, because everything you think is the universe was caused by a previous thing you called the universe. So you don't even have a referent for the universe. That's my first critique. Why can't the universe singular? How did you get access to a singular thing called the universe? Are you doing metaphysics? Is this metaphysics? Yeah, I'm doing metaphysics by saying the universe. I'm trying to do an impression of this guy. The universe. Why can't the universe necessarily exist eternally? What's the universe? Out there. That's metaphysics, right? When someone says reality out there, Tom Jump, reality, the universe, they're actually doing metaphysics. That's why you get them on metaphysics.
That the Father is God and God is the Father, but that Jesus is not the Father. This is
what are you, Muslim?
A logical contradiction. If Jesus is God and God is the Father, then by logical necessity, Jesus must be the Father.
Oh, what a fucking retard. What an absolute
What
retard.
would you say if I told you I was mentally retarded?
So if I'm a human and you're a human, TMM, that means we're both the same person because we're both human, right? That means your mom and my mom are the same. TMM. You're a real smart philosopher here. Based on your reasoning, our moms are the same because they share the nature of mom. All humans are the same human because human is a category of a nature. And all the persons that are human must necessarily be the same person. I'm a fucking idiot. Fucking retard. What did you go to a mosque this weekend? Would you go to a mosque?
To say that Jesus is God and God is the Father, but Jesus is not the Father, is like saying that
That's not what we said, retard. God is the nature. Person, Christ. Person, Holy Spirit. Person, Father. He's just going, well, God means singular person. And from my presupposition that God means singular person, the Trinity doesn't make sense. Fucking retard. Just an absolute retard. I mean, how does a smarty pants like TMM adopt the lowest tier counter argumentation that you see from Muslims, the lowest IQ people that we know of, aside from like the Papua New Guinea tribes?
Paris is in France and France is in Europe, but Paris is not in Europe. A mathematician should know enough logic to understand how self-contradictory the Trinity is.
No, that was not a steel man of the Trinity. Now, I don't know that Lennox has a good rendition, if you will. Obviously, he's not going to have the nuance to argue the monarchical Trinity from an Orthodox perspective, the only coherent attempt at it. But nothing TMM just said is even a steel man of the Trinity.
Can you explain it to me? Well, I said, can I ask you a question first? He said, sure. So I said, tell me,
did you eat all the marshmallows in your Lucky Charms?
what is consciousness?
Consciousness is the formation of concepts. It is the conceptualization of experienced phenomena.
He's he's more arrogant than me. How is that possible? The way he talked, there, I said it. We've already established truth.
He thought for a second, and then he said,
What did he say? Hold on. I didn't even listen. Consciousness is the formation of concepts. Wow. Fucking idiot. Consciousness is the formation of concepts. Dude, what's a concept then? What are you talking about? Consciousness is the formation of a concept? I'm sorry. So the concept, you could have a concept before you're conscious? You fucking retard. How am I so mad the day after Christmas, or the second day after Christmas? He said it so affirmatively. Listen, he just says a dumb shit thing.
Consciousness is the formation of concepts.
You moron. Consciousness needs to be a precondition for a concept, you idiot. So how did you get consciousness from concepts if concepts require consciousness? Fucking moron, dude.
You don't get to ask those questions.
I hate these people.
It is the conceptualization of experienced phenomena.
Experienced phenomena? I'm sorry. Consciousness is the formation of concepts. It is the conceptualization of experienced phenomena. Who's having the experience, you retard? Hey, TMM, who's having the experience? Is it a consciousness that's having the experience? No. The consciousness is the product of the experience. What's having the experience then? What are you talking about? These people, I mean, I swear, they need to be bullied out of existence. They need to be wedgied. They need to be thrown into a digital locker. He just says it so flippantly. Yeah, consciousness is the formation of concepts. Idiot, dude. Justin Henley, who's half black, says the formation of concepts phenomenon, doesn't that mean he doesn't know? Yeah, he doesn't know. This is insanity. You have to be insane to hold these positions.
And he thought for a second, and then he...
You're like, oh, consciousness is the product of concepts. What's a concept then, TMM? Well, concept is what the consciousness is experiencing. That doesn't make any sense, dude.
He said, I don't know. I said, that's okay. Let me try an easier one.
It's a moron.
What is energy?
Energy is the capacity to do work, which
Wait, what?
in physics means a force causing movement. So energy is the capacity to apply a force which causes movement.
He says it like he figured this out. No. Energy is still a philosophical, metaphysical concept. There's nothing you can point to that's identical to what you call energy out there in nature. A capacity? I'm sorry. What's a capacity? These fucking people, dude. And he's so flippant with his level of arrogance. Energy is the capacity to do, quote, work. What are you talking about? Work. Force causing movement. So energy is potential? I'm sorry. What is the natural, what is the ontology of potential in naturalism? It doesn't even have a shelf. It doesn't even have a category. Give us a smile. Yeah, give us a smile. How long is this video? Well, it's too long to finish. I'm going to move on soon.
Well, he said, I'm a physicist. I can measure energy. I could use it. I said, that's not my question. What is it? He said, I don't know.
What a shitty physicist.
No, dude. Unbelievable, this guy. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. What a shitty No, the physicist can't tell you the ontology of energy. You're actually thinking the expression, the thing you see in the world, like things moving, like a rock falling. You're like, there, that's energy. No. The expression of energy, we can grant you what you're calling the expression of energy. That energy was required. What energy is different.
Oh, I said, that's very interesting. You don't know. Tell me, I said, do you believe in consciousness? Yes, he said. Do you believe in energy? Yes, he said. So I said, you believe in these two things, you don't know what they are.
His beliefs are a lot like theism then. Theists believe in a god without having any coherent concept of what that god is.
What? No. Who and what? Again, this is a problem with these people. They're not even really doing, and he's just as too coquet. If he just said, yeah, we believe in a lot of things that under the naturalist view, under atheism, we have no justification for or a category. Human rights are a perfect one. I mean, it doesn't take much. I literally made an animation trying to make fun of people like TMM who appeal to immaterial things, and then under their own view, they're like, well, I shouldn't actually believe in these immaterial things, but I do. But you shouldn't believe in God because he's immaterial and I can't make sense of him. You shouldn't. Look, this has been a valid statement against atheism that none of them have been able to counter. Not a single one. And it's this. Any argument the atheist levies against believing in God, against God's existence, they're all going to be evidential. Any criticism, any reason the atheist comes up with to argue against the existence of God should also be used to argue against the existence of truth. Now, it just happens to be the case that under a Christian view, truth and God are synonymous, and we can argue why. But from an atheist view, think about it. Think of any reason an atheist comes up with to deny the belief in God. Well, I don't believe because there's not enough evidence. Well, I don't see any reason to believe in God as a necessary thing that exists in the world. Okay, swap God with truth. Do you see any evidence of truth? Is there any physical evidence? Is truth made up of particles? Any evidence of knowledge, information? Can you hold information in your hand? No, you can't. Why do you believe in it? It doesn't match or meet the criteria you have for your own epistemic beliefs. They're like, no, those are different things. We need information and language and logic. We need it to do stuff, okay? That doesn't tell me why you should believe in it. They do. They in a sense do their own utility presup or tag. They argue, well, the necessary preconditions for me being able to argue and do videos online is that I have to assume a bunch of things that I should deny because they're not empirically verified. Only because they're necessary. Yeah, but that doesn't give me a justification for them. So you're just running tag without any additional steps. You're just saying, my own worldview requires my belief in a bunch of things I should deny because they're not empirically verified. But the reason I accept them, even though they don't meet the criteria for my beliefs, is that I wouldn't have beliefs after that. I need the first things I should disbelieve in order to gain the beliefs that I think are justified. That's how insane atheism is.
I said, should I write you off?
Randoverse says the truth can change, I think. Well, no, that's a contradiction because that would be a truth that wouldn't change. So you can't really, that's why truth can't be a set of propositions. You could say if truth is a set of propositions, your propositions might change, but that doesn't tell you the truth itself changes. That says that your apprehension and way of talking about the truth changed. You got higher resolution or lower resolution. But from a Christian view, the truth, capital T, is discoverable. And because it's discoverable, it's necessarily unchanging. Otherwise, you're not discovering anything. It's nominal.
As an intellectual.
I would.
And he said, please don't.
All right, let's move over to this guy, who I didn't get a chance at yet. He's the worst. He gets people on and he interrupts them. He does everything the atheist does once he's cornered. But this is his story. I always like the story. I'm going to speed this up, though, to 1.25. We'll probably need the piano music here because every one of these atheists has this weird deconstruction story where they essentially do the same sort of testimonial, the same style testimonial of the church that they're leaving, where they do the big talk. And here's my story. They do counter testimonials. They leave and do counter ministries.
I saw a live stream from another channel, all love, by the way, Nitty.
Tonic says, if I'm a Christian who follows no denomination, does Orthodoxy Christianity assume I'm sacrilege? No, we would first say, before we get to that, Tonic, we don't know what you mean by Christian if you're not Orthodox, and neither would you. Because the thing that you're referring to, tonic, clonic, chronic, you're actually referring to something that has a history when you say you're Christian. Otherwise, what are we referring to when you say Christian? Well, are you just taking Christian to mean whatever you come up with, being that you've been granted the Bible? That you've just been given the Bible and you read into it and you're like, I'm a Christian. Well, no, if you're a Christian, that you mean that then you believe certain things. If you're a Christian, you also appeal to a history of Christianity. And so how do you appeal to the history of Christianity, let's say the New Testament, if you're going to deny orthodoxy? I don't understand what you're referring to as Christian. I would say tonic, clonic, to be really straightforward with you, you can't say if I'm a Christian who follows no denomination. We don't know. What are you, the Pope? You're your own Pope? You're your own revelator? You're your own apostle? What are you referring to? Let's pretend I have no idea. This is a fun hypothetical kind of logical tree scenario. Let's pretend I have no idea what it means to be Christian, Tonic. I am a Papua New Guinea barbarian. I'm a savage. Okay? You explain to me what it means to be a Christian if you're going to hold a non-denominational view. You have no normative authority of what it means to be Christian. You have no normative authority of what salvific claims are. You have no ecclesiology. You have no teachings of the church. You have no way to track back to the Great Commission. You have no way to trace back the holy tradition that we're told to hold to, that Paul says to hold to in Thessalonians. What is a practice of being Christian? You just make one up? You're going to make one up? That's what all the heretics did. That's why St. Irenaeus has an entire volume against heresies. That's why. Because people were non-denominational as soon as they had access to text. And they rejected the original purpose of the canon, which was liturgical. It wasn't private interpretation. The church didn't spend all of that time and money and effort fighting off heresies and maintaining the holy tradition and the application of Scripture into a canon that was unified. They didn't do that so that you guys could read it privately. It didn't even exist to read it privately. It wasn't even a thing that existed.
And he critiqued my stream from a couple of days ago, and I wanted to respond to it. First of all, I really appreciate you.
Oh, this is Nitty. Nitty, you actually critiqued this guy. So shout out to Nitty, who's a little bit more reasonable in the atheist circles. We love having him around. He critiqued this guy because this guy's a total dickhead.
He was able to critique me in a kind and respectful manner when I don't deserve anyone's respect. I don't deserve any of your kindness. And I don't expect respect or kindness from anyone. So for him to be able to give me critiques and even teach me some certain things on ways I can do things better, I really respect and appreciate that. I think it's kind of important for me to remake this video. I've made a video kind of like this a couple of times before in the past to explain the purpose that I have for my channel, because Justin...
Purpose? There's that word again. There's that naughty word from the atheist again.
Gave me that nice little shout out. Justin, Dalton, Blitz, the whole entire deconstruction team.
Oh gosh, he's simping for his little heroes now. Oh, Justin, Deconstruction Zone, and Blitz. I really want to be like you when I'm older.
Godless Engineer, all of you.
Godless Engineer, bro? Dude, you're appealing to Godless Engineer? You're dead. Body bag.
You guys, everyone that I've worked with the last week, I appreciate you all. And that has given an inflow of viewers that don't know who I am or my goals, my desires, I guess you could say. So let me explain some things. My name is Cody, okay?
Of course your name's Cody.
I'm 25. I grew up, my father, or the man that helped raise me, is a pastor in a house church. He's a Messianic Jew.
Oof. Say no more.
So I grew up in a Christian / Old Testament kind of Christian lifestyle.
Lord have mercy.
And I was a hardcore conspiracy theorist. I believed Hollywood was ran by the Illuminati. Lizard people were everywhere. The earth was flat. There's a literal firmament. I was a biblical literalist. And in 2020.
So let me translate for you. I could tell by your face already. There's nothing light about your face, buddy. This is called overcorrection. This is an overcorrection phenomenon. And it's totally normal to go through, by the way. I may not even try to steal it from him. You know, he might need this. You go back, you're wound up in one direction, the rubber band breaks, and you get launched entirely into the opposite direction. Now, why wouldn't he? Look, you grew up in a crazy pants household, broken theology, Judaizers, right? Wild theology. You have every... Dude, listen, Cody. I could see you're in pain. You have every reason to reject the theology that you grew up in. But the best help you could get is not from Nitty and all of these people. No offense, Nitty, but you know, you're not going to give him any sort of spiritual direction here. You're in overcorrection mode, bro.
122, I started to actually question things. I've only been an atheist for 3 years.
Fredo says, look how excited this guy is to find meaning in a meaningless world. I know, it's wild. It's wild. They're like, I finally freed myself of theology. Now my life is completely meaningless. And now I'm going to reach out and try to start a counter ministry. And maybe we'll meet up in person. It's like, what is an atheist event? Why do you get your lanyards and buy your tickets and rent out hotel lobbies? We're going to meet up and we're all going to talk about how it's actually purposeless to meet up. Who's going to give their speech on why we shouldn't be here? Who's going to sign my book on why signing a book and books themselves have no purpose?
I've only been studying logic and philosophy for these last couple of years.
No, you have not been studying philosophy for a couple of years.
So the purpose that I have for my channel, I kind of made it out of an anger, out of a frustration.
See, overcorrection.
Of how absolutely blindly indoctrinated I was my entire life.
Oh, yeah. That doesn't happen in the non-theistic circles.
Wasn't allowed to learn about evolution. I wasn't allowed to learn a lot of science.
Evolution? This is just hilarious. I wasn't allowed to learn evolution. How did you learn evolution? All the people who said they learned evolution, I simply asked them a very highly tactical question about the mechanisms, and they're like, what?
It's actually a lot of biology, and that really had the handles of the reins on my life, and all of my belief systems. So realizing I had no justification to believe in this God figure or any God figure.
Hilarious justification. It's amazing how easily these people use the word justification. I don't have a justification to believe in God, but I do have a justification to believe in rights, not really. Truth, not really. Laws of logic, not really. Mind, not really. Regularity of nature, not really. Future, past, present, not really. But he has a justification to not believe in God.
In studying the absolute basics, and I mean basics, guys, I am not ever going to claim to be educated. Ever. I'm not by any means. I just read as many books as I can get my hands on when I know what to read. So just with my absolute basic understanding of epistemology, I just recently...
Because Grum died in the Holly.
Recently started studying a little bit of ontology. It's kind of hard to find information and learn the lingo, I guess you could say, the jargons for ontology and all that. The very basics I have of logic and epistemology.
What's the ontology of logic? It's just amazing, these fuckers. And they really are. They're fuckers. Look at him. Poor guy. He's just in his early 20s. Oh, I'm just studying ontology and epistemology. I'm sorry. From an atheist view, you have no justification for either of those two.
Just realizing how ridiculous it is to believe so many things that I grew up believing.
Yeah.
And the hate that I had for so many masses of people. And it's disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. Looking back.
And now you just switched it. Now you have a massive amount of hatred for those people. You overcorrected, like they all do, and they do the exact thing on the opposite hand. Now he's out for blood for the Christians and out for blood for the theists. He has new purpose. His old purpose was the opposite. He just switched sides. Now he has purpose. And now he's finding his church, the Church of Deconstruction Zone, the Church of Lisping Homos. He found the new church, the Church of Utility, the Church of Pragmatism, the Church of Nihilism. Amazing work.
Back on it now, I'm like, holy crap, I actually thought these things. When I hear people...
The Beatles do philosophy.
For instance, make homophobic jokes, and now I'm like, holy shit, that's...
Oh my gosh, a homophobic joke. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And then I learned socially. I'm now falling in order with the LGBT tribe. And you made a homophobic joke. And now with my newfound belief structure, which is non-existent, I now also get upset when people make fun of homos. I'm found. I was blind and now I see. You guys see this? it's kind of sad because he's a young guy, so he's in the convert zeal, and there's deconvert zeal, by the way. People talk about convert zeal. It's much more rampant, in fact, deconvert zeal. He's in deconvert zeal. Oh my gosh! And then they made homophobic jokes, and now I cringe. It's muff philosophy. Yeah. It's muff philosophy. Thank you for the guy. Yeah. During efforts toward the Jortlandian goal. Thank you very much. 16 left. He must be saying his channel has purpose. Yeah.
It's so fucked up. I used to be that guy.
It's fucked up. Why? I'm sorry. From an atheist view, Cody, why is it? What do you mean fucked up? What do you mean? Is that like an ethical term? Is that a philosophical? You're learning philosophical jargon, Cody. Where are you looking off to, by the way? What does it mean? From an atheist view, where are my atheists in the chat? From an atheist view, what is meant by that's fucked up? What do you mean what's fucked up? What do you mean? Don't you now believe that we have no purpose and we're completely mechanically determined to do and say everything we do? How could racism or bigotry or homophobia, all these slang terms that are meaningless at this point, you're like 15 years behind, Cody. Why would they be messed up? They're biologically driven, right? What are you talking about? Deconstruction story. That's gonna be my next video, dude. The next skeptics episode is gonna be a atheist call-in. It's going to be hilarious. We'll actually review that too. I want you guys all to see it because it's I'm pretty proud of it myself. I asked the pastor priest a question. He could not answer it. Deconstruction story 329.
Or somebody says they genuinely think that the moon landing is fake and Earth is
It is. It was fake.
flat. I'm like, holy shit, dude, no, please, no, let's learn.
Why learn from an atheist view?
So I didn't make Evidence First as a teaching channel. And I don't expect to teach anybody. My whole
God, he's so condescending already. I'm sorry. Did we assume that? I don't know. When we saw you, were we under the impression that you're here to teach people? I mean, the guy he outed himself. That's what he thinks of himself. Listen, guys, just first and foremost, I'm not here, just so you guys know, I'm not here to teach. Just I know that people, from all walks of life see me and hear me and they're like, oh, this guy's teaching.
whole purpose of making it was to showcase what I was learning. I had an ex that told me to make the channel because I was
what was his name?
Studying as much philosophy as I could get my hands on, and logic specifically. And I was talking to her about it. I'm like, oh my goodness, did you know this? Did you know this? Did you know this? And they're like, just make a fucking YouTube channel and talk about it. I'm like, okay, fine, fuck it. So the purpose of my channel is not necessarily to teach.
Derek says skeptics had me rolling. The name, it's a really good name.
The purpose of my channel is to test my own knowledge, test other people's knowledge, learn while talking to people, be able to be wrong in a conversation and admit it. Like the last stream I had a couple of days ago, yesterday, I said something completely wrong about the Jewish belief of hell, and I acted incorrectly. I kicked the person for, I don't remember if I got pissed off or what stupid reason I had. I kicked them, and then chat was like, hey, go double check yourself. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go double check myself. And I was fucking wrong. So like, hey, I apologize, hop back up here. And we ended up having a pretty decent conversation after that. I think it even came to a civil agree to disagree type of thing. So that's what this is all about. I'm learning as I go along, and I want to showcase everything I'm learning. I don't want this to necessarily be a debate channel. My goal is not to just debate 24/7. Even when it comes to the streams where I'm saying there's no evidence for God, I'm not even looking for a debate per se. If you want to talk metaphysics and whatnot, again, we have plenty of these people that come up, but the problem is everyone that comes up that's talking about philosophy, they are coming up to have this debate, and I have to hold it accountable to some degree. So if someone comes up and says, I believe X, Y, and Z because premise 1, premise 2, premise 3 follows this conclusion, I'm immediately going to go,
this guy has therapists speak? Yeah. I mean, he's in the worst phase of his life. He's in the worst phase of his life. And I've gone through this phase, dude. I wasn't exactly this guy, but I was, similar view where it's like, well, I was raised in also a home church scenario that I later thought was kind of ridiculous. And still as an Orthodox, find it kind of ridiculous. But it's just like overcorrection. It's rebellious. It's like, I'm here to do something, but by the way, I'm not. I'm not doing this for any reason. Yeah, we know you're an atheist. There's no reason to do anything.
You go, no, I don't accept that because of X, Y, and Z. And they're like, well, you don't know this. And I'm like, no, I don't. Let's talk about it. They're like, you're an idiot. Teach me, bro. I don't fucking know. Teach me. Let's have a conversation about it. Let's talk about philosophy. What is a good explanation for believing in something metaphysical?
Why? That's my question to all of you atheists, including you, Cody. Why? They're so full of it. They're so full of shit. At least a Christian view, its deontology and its teleology have some account for pursuing truth. Atheism has zero. There is zero reason an atheist ought to pursue truth or a Christian ought to pursue truth. They have no reason to gain knowledge. They have no view on it. There's no reason to do it. There's no reason to debate. There's no reason to write a book. Zero.
Physical versus what is not. When is empiricism required versus when metaphysics can be true, etc. I don't want only debate. I definitely don't consider myself a teacher by any means.
Oh, I'm glad he clarified that again, you guys, because I was under the impression, I was starting to take notes already. I got my pen out because I was like, wait a second. This guy's onto something.
I'm going to say a lot of wrong things. I'm going to act in a very wrong way. I know a lot of people do not like my cutthroatness. That's just...
No. We're fine with cutthroatness. It's just that you're wrong when you're cutthroat, and you've already demonstrated to be wrong about things. You have a lot of arrogance and a lot of energy, kid. And you have all a chip on your shoulder. And so you get all these theists or Christians who call in, especially the ones that counter you on things you can't manage. You get really mad, and then you talk over them and you boot them. He's like, "Oh no, that's just a symptom of my straightforwardness. I'm so straightforward." It's like, stop glazing yourself, bro.
It's how I've kind of always been in life. Kind of like if I know 2 plus, like, again, if you know 2 plus 2 is 4, someone comes up to you and goes, hey, it's 5. You go, no, it's 4 because of X, Y, and Z. And they go, no, it's 5 because of this. It's like, dude, no, it's 4 because of da-da-da-da-da. And they're like, no.
Oh, the da-da-da-da argument?
You're wrong. You're an idiot. It's like, man, fuck you. Like, that's how this is feeling.
I heard you.
I am studying as much as I possibly can. My channel should not be as big as it is. And I appreciate every single one of you that have hit that
Oh, wow. You're so modest.
subscribe button. Every single view. I don't know philosophy. I don't know logic.
True.
I don't know theology.
True.
Trinity. Everybody.
Yeah, so what are you doing, man? This guy's so full of shit, dude. He has the nerve to start a channel called Evidence First that has some sort of subtext that we should pursue evidence first, where he comes off as completely grating and condescending to his audience and to the people who call in, and he's now pretending to be this modest little mouse. What a total snake. Unbelievable.
Is and how dangerous that is. So many bad things happen because of indoctrination. For instance,
so many good things happen. See? That's an easy counter. So many good things happen from indoctrination. See?
Hatred towards certain groups.
Why is that bad? What do you mean hatred? What are you talking about?
So many Christians hate the LGBT community.
No, we hate the activity. Okay? We hate falsities. We hate rejection of God. We hate perversion.
Because a fucking piece of paper and ink fucking says
time code.
So, fuck you. Let's fuck.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. You don't like gay butt sex. Fuck you, jerk.
Up.
man, well, you can't tell God what is right or wrong.
Fuck you. Fuck your God. Fuck your book.
That's not an argument, retard.
I can. I just did. What are you going to do about it?
You wouldn't talk to me like this in real life.
I would. I will. Let's do it. Do I want to fight? No.
I do.
I
want to fight.
Fucking hate fighting.
Look at that jaw.
I don't want to get punched. It sucks to get punched. The majority of us have been punched. It sucks.
I think you should be punched.
But if standing up for what is right requires me to get the shit beat out of me, fuck yeah, bring it, bitch.
What? What is wrong with you, kid? What is wrong with you? Okay, was angry. Like he's so unnecessarily angry. He has mass shooter vibes.
Curb stomp my ass. If that's what it takes to end hatred, fuck yeah. Let's.
Wait, what? If that's what it takes to end hatred, curb stomp you? I have no idea where you are, dude. I have no idea what it is you're actually talking about.
Bring it. Bring it. Do your fucking worst. If I can make, in my uneducated self, if I can help someone else feel loved, if I can spread light.
You don't have a standard for love. What is light? What are you talking about? You're doing poetry now? Yeah, look, atheists, guys, you have no standard for love. What are you talking about?
I also get so many DMs, guys, on a daily basis from both atheists and theistic people, agnostics, whatever the fuck you want to call yourself.
He's doing the girl got arrested, DUI. I'm just a girl. Yeah, I'm just a girl in the world.
DMs from those people being like, hey, I don't necessarily agree with everything, but you made me question this. I'm like, hey, that's perfectly fair.
You're unbelievable. I can't even take it. I can't even take it. Let's get another. This one's shorter. This lady's also Jezebel Vibes, 124,000 viewers. She has, this is her very unmerry holiday message. This is what's funny. Did you guys, I don't know if you were scrolling during Christmas time, but like leading up to Christmas, these atheists, they come out of the woodworks. It's like the cats who like smell the wave, you know, the earthquake coming, and they go up into the mountains. That's what it's like around Christmas time, the atheists. But it includes like Unitarians too. They get so miffed and dislocated because they're witnessing everyone celebrate the triune Godhead, and they lose their shit, dude. Like they turn into like zombies. And they have to make messages around Christmas. This one's called A Very Unmerry Holiday Message from an American Ex-Christian. Okay, lady.
And giving them health care would make them lazy, unproductive. If Jesus really believed that feeding people and giving them health care would make them lazy, unproductive members of society, why did he feed people? And
that's not an argument, lady. Yeah, Christ also affirmed that you should learn, that you use your gifts, that you actually make something of yourself. So what are you talking about? If there's an event where philanthropy is necessary, great. That doesn't mean what you think it means. If Christ was against being a drunkard, then why did he turn water into wine? I am a philosopher in the woods. I am the Jesse Wells of atheism.
Give them health care. I recognize at this point in my life that it takes a lot of privilege and luck to look forward to celebrating Christmas. And that there are so many people all around me in my immediate area and all across the nation that know they're not going to be able to celebrate Christmas like they hoped this.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, no. Oh, no. The irony of this. The rejection of Christianity on the basis that people aren't going to be able to properly celebrate Christmas. I just want you to know, because of your right-wing Christian views, there are people in this country who won't be able to properly celebrate the commodified version of Christianity of pure materialism. I want you to know that. That's your fault. That's on you. Even though an atheist, we have no reason to celebrate Christianity or family
or love or anything like that. I just want you to know that you ruined Christmas this year because of my presents. Just know that.
Here. Because they couldn't afford to buy presents when they're getting letters in the mail saying that their insurance is about to double or triple because of the Republican policies.
Are you gonna cry? Everything is about materialism with these maggots. They're sitting around moping and crying, not because someone might not get their medical attention they need, but they weren't able to buy presents. Do you know what that's like? Do you know what it's like when people don't get presents? They couldn't even do Elf on a Shelf. They couldn't even do it. And it's Republican policies that you bigots hold, which makes it impossible for these people to not only get their knee surgery, but to miss out on the never-ending task of relocating Johnny the Elf.
That insured Americans would not have access to affordable health care. They refused to protect health care and safety nets that help people get by, and they ran away to Christmas recess so they could go celebrate their holiday.
Oh, goodness.
My congresswoman is worth millions of dollars. She's going to sit around a big table, eating a big hot meal, opening presents with all of her kids and her grandkids, probably sharing the story of Jesus and his birth.
Yeah, and then that family also probably has some problems too that can't be resolved by opening presents.
The same Jesus that she said she got into Congress to serve and to share. The same Jesus that told her to feed the poor, to take care of the
Oh, get off your high horse, lady.
sick, to give them health care. She voted against that.
Oh my gosh. Oh no, what's gonna how many nose rings do you need? What do you got, 5 in one nostril? Man, I want to go fly fishing around you. Oh, I would love that. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Oh, God. Oh, 2 in a row. I can't believe it. It must be the wind. Sorry about that.
All of her policies have been as anti-Christian, anti-Jesus as they come. And
what's wrong with being anti-Christian? I don't understand. Aren't you anti-Christian? This doesn't make sense. I'm against Christian ethics. Look at you, Christian, not being Christian. That's bad. What do you mean? What is wrong with these people's brains, dude? They're scrambled. They don't know where they stand. They're like, they criticize Christians for being Christian, but now her criticism is that people aren't Christian. Which is it, lady? These people are not Christian.
And that goes for all of these self-proclaimed evangelical Christians in Congress.
Yeah?
I'm an atheist, but I was raised in the Southern Baptist Church from the time I was born.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. How does that give you any upper hand in your argument? Blah,
Pretty
blah,
much.
blah.
Until I was 19 years old.
Oh, 19. Then you figured it out.
And it was rare we missed church. And I would go to Sunday school and I would hear all about this Jesus that came to earth as a human to share the love of God with humanity and to save them.
Yeah, save them from death, from sin, not from not getting health care. These people are materialists. They think that, like, the practice of theosis, the practice of Christianity, has something to do with, like, transcending death here. Well, then I learned
who
she's like a fish who got caught in the lip. Yeah,
whose family
she's like a fish with a hook caught inside the lip. Sorry, I gotta 1 second. I'll press the play on this.
had to flee from where they lived to save their lives and to save his life, trying to find room in a place that was too full and didn't have any room for them, was born in a barn surrounded by animals and filth, and grew up to walk alongside those who were considered outcasts of society, to feed those that were hungry, to heal those that were sick, to sit and talk with those that the rest of society wanted to point fingers at and shame. And I think about the fact that I was taught about this Jesus in the church. Every Christmas we celebrated him and read his story. And I was told, be like him. Do what he does. Follow his example. And those same people that told me that, who shared this Jesus with me and told me to live like him, are the same Christians that are supporting the cruelty that we are seeing in our government right now.
Doesn't even map onto your
the same
position.
Christians that are supporting
and I thought me
the
being
Republicans that are
filthy
taking
cool
away
lady
people's
was
access
bad.
to healthcare and food, taking away their kids' education, taking away...
Yeah, this lady's too much. She's too much. I think I have to... My son, he just ran outside and he fell. And I might need to take him to the emergency room. Just so you know. I mean, he's fine. It's just that, like, he hit his head here. And it's kind of a deep cut. I just don't know if it needs to be like... See, I would just super glue it. But, I need to... I mean, it's close enough. It's close enough to see. Just to check. I don't think it does need stitches, but it's kind of deep. So, I'm not sure. Maybe. I'm not sure. Hit the goal. Yeah, hit the goal real quick. And maybe later, I'll come back today. Just staple it. Just staple it. No, it's not a concussion style thing. He doesn't, it's not like swollen. He like, it looks like a sharp rock just like punctured through. And it's like deep enough. You know when it's deep enough where you can't tell if there's dirt in there or if it's just like the deepness of the cut itself? I'm not sure. Rub some dirt on it. Rub some cayenne pepper on it. Thank you, Abby. That's one stitch. That's 1/10 of a stitch, Abby just donated. 1/500th of the cost of a single stitch. I think just super good. It's probably going to leave a scar, but, you know, he's a boy. He needs to deal with this. So, you know, that's good. Prayers for little Bob. Yeah, we're sick, dude. It's wild. Wild times in my my family health. Sickness, fever. There's a lot going on for me. Okay. For a Band-Aid, thank you. $2, $2 Band-Aid. Appreciate that. All right. Forget this lady. I don't want to hear her complaining. She has no arguments. This is something interesting, though. You guys know this. Wait, let me move to review. The smartest person I know, Adam Green, he's doing another video arguing that Christianity is a Jewish psyop. Real smarty pants we got here. We got a real smarty pants.
I'm open to them. I'm interested.
Okay, look. All right, what do we got here? We got Gnostic Informant, who's been on my channel before. Neil here. He's Neil, right? You guys know Neil. Got Neil.
In them, I think they're fascinating. I think, you know, Kennedy, 9/11, all that stuff. There's definitely some very valid rabbit holes to go down when it comes to those subjects. But what is a PSYOP? It's a psychological operation.
Hold on a second.
It isn't.
I have to change this here. Edit. No bounds. What the hell is going on here, dude? Let's go back here. The hell? What is happening? Sorry. Everything is collapsing. All right. These guys, these two silly pants. These two silly pantses. Neil, are you here? This is silly.
By definition, it is an operation to get someone psychologically to do something or to follow something or to convert them, whatever. But it's
Believe
psychological.
Something. Believe
something.
Yeah.
Exactly. It goes deep into the psyche, the mind. And so religion is the most obvious place when it comes to psychological operations. It's the easiest one because so much about religion is psychological. And
now, I want you guys to grasp the irony here. Both of these lads, especially Adam Green, is full onboard evolution. That's the irony, is that Adam Green fantasizes about evolution, and he thinks we evolved from pond scum, and he thinks that fish, Uncle Fish, existed and such, right? And their rigor in looking at religion and going, oh, this is a psyop, this is mass scale psychological manipulation, as if that's wrong under their view anyway. But absent that, they don't see how evolution itself is a philosophy, a creation myth, a view of the world that has entailments. And you could, in fact, control a ton of people through the philosophy that they come from nothing, and they are ultimately pond scum, and they're ultimately just mechanical devices. You know what I mean?
so when we look at the rise of Judaism,
in fact, I'm going to save this for a different stream. I'm going to sort out the family stuff. So I'm going to be needed. So thanks for meeting the first goal, though. I'm going to end this, watch my other kids, and so Meg Bob can, unless we all take a fun family adventure to the hospital. I'm probably going to come back later, though, you guys. Maybe for an evening stream. Maybe I'll do some TikTok stuff. I don't know. But for now, I'm going to close shop, you guys. Got to take care of my children. All right. With that said, God bless you all. I'll be back later, okay? Prayers from, I don't think he needs them, but, everything's falling apart right now. All right. God bless you all. Find another place to go. I don't have time to set up a transfer, y'all. Love you. I'll be back later. Adios.